So, this is the Citrus County TV show that I was on. It's a local cable station here for Citrus County. And I went to their studio called Citrus.
Welcome back to Citrus Today, everybody. Very happy to have in the studio with us Mike Trout. And you may have either read about Mike just this week, or you may have seen him last night, as a matter of fact, on Animal Planet. He is called the Hornet Hunter, and you may have seen the special that was on Animal Planet, like I said, last night, but it's going to be aired again. Yep. It's called Killer Hornets from Hell. This is scary stuff.
And they're headed our way.
And they're headed our way. The show opens. Well, let me just show you a clip here that we've got to kind of give you an idea of what the show is about. Okay, so let me roll that footage for you.
Phone right here.
Their quarter-inch stinger pierces like blazing hot metal. Their venom melts flesh and can kill in a matter of minutes.
Swarms of giant hornets have killed 41 people and injured 1,500 others.
Now these mammoth insects are spreading further and further across the globe. Is there any way to stop the invasion?
Each one of these is potentially just a death machine.
Of killer hornets from hell.
Now we're laughing about this, but it's serious stuff.
Well, it's Animal Planet. I mean, they want to create the fear factor, and they do a great job. Yeah.
But there's plenty to be afraid of on this. I mean, the show opens with a guy on a motorcycle, and one of these hornets hits him in the helmet, goes up in there, and stings the guy to death.
Right, he's just going on a joyride, so it's like, you know, another reason why you shouldn't wear your helmet, because it would have bounced off him if you'd have been held. But he had his visor up, and it just became a net. So here's just one worker, and the guy was allergic. So it's just, and these things don't have the barb. They're like a knife, and they just keep stinging and pumping the venom into you. And if you're allergic, this anaphylactic shock can set in very quickly, and, you know, you die.
There's also a lady, a millet farmer.
That's right.
And there's an episode with her and these hornets as well.
Exactly. That's what I always tell folks. I have a farm in Japan that I work on, and I'm weed whacking. And imagine you hitting one of these hives, which can go down 10 layers. They're huge. They've got hundreds of workers that will just come out and attack you. So I'm not concerned about hitting a rock. I'm concerned about what's going to fly up in front of me. So I'm very nervous when I'm weed whacking on my farm and knocking down all those. And if you watch in the show, she's so focused on just cutting. That's how you are. You become in this, like fishing, just become focused in the zone. And then 2 feet away, she's not realizing that these hornets are dug down in there, and they attack her, and she was paralyzed from them.
Now, one of the fortunate things that we're able to have you here, you're from LaCanta.
That's right.
Right in our backyard, and now here you are, you're out hunting these hornets at other places in the world. You live in Japan, as you said, and you have quite a history that started actually with bees. Now, in that little bit of footage that we saw, there was a CNN piece there that talked about 40 deaths, 1,500 injuries because of these hornets. I mean, and the scary thing is, it's not just where you're at, but they're traveling.
Oh, they are
around the world.
These monsters can fly up to 80 kilometers. So flying from Japan to Korea to China, and each hive puts out hundreds of queens. Unlike a beehive that has just one queen, the whole goal of these is to put out hundreds of offspring. And what was normally killing them, climate change, is no longer affecting them. So, yeah, they're spreading. And they're probably in the States.
We just saw a picture come up there to give you kind of an idea of the size of these particular type hornets. I was amazed. What's the length these things can grow to?
Well, there's, I don't know, as big as my forefinger. What is that? Nearly 2 inches, I guess, in size.
So the hornets that we're used to seeing around here, nothing
These would eat them.
comparison.
Oh, these would eat them. These would love to find those hornets and eat them.
Yeah.
And and that's the deals. In the fall, they become hyper aggressive, and that's why in the fall my father's nurse said she's seen them here in
Florida.
In
Central Florida.
In Citrus, she swears she's seen them. So if they're here, it's really important for us to find them and deal with them. So in the fall, they become very hungry because they're trying to get all their queens out. And they will basically attack anything. Beehives is a smorgasbord for them because there's all that honey and all that food. And that's kind of how I got into it. They destroyed my bees in Japan.
And that's how you started your investigation.
I wanted revenge.
You wanted revenge.
I was like, hey, I'm in Florida. You mess with me, I'm going to mess with you. So it's that good old, I don't know, the way we're brought up here. It's like we're not pacifists. We take it on the offense. And that's how most of these experts that I actually trained with got into them. You have to be proactive against these things because they're going to go on the offense. So you better go on the offense first.
Now, we've got the perfect climate in Florida for these things, right?
Yeah.
It so happens with other things. We've seen love bugs show up, I don't know how many years ago, but growing up I never used to see them, and then all at once they're everywhere during this season of the year.
Yep.
These could be the same way.
Yep.
And what people don't realize, because we're used to seeing wasp nests up high, they come from the ground.
Exactly. They become much harder to find because they're hidden. They could be in parks where the kids are playing. They could be in a pile of wood. You just don't know. I mean, in one of the films where you see me digging one up, that was a local park. And when we were there, I could hear guys with weed whackers. They were clearing the park. Such a dangerous situation,
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about that, some of your history too, and talk a little bit about your bees and whatnot as we continue. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back with more on Citrus Today. And welcome back to Citrus Today. Again, Mike Trout with us, and you can catch him on the Animal Planet on a show that I'm sure is going to air several times called Killer Hornets from Hell.
That's right.
It's scary when I think about this. Now, there's a couple of scenes during the course of the show, if folks catch it, that they'll be interested in knowing some inside information.
That's right.
There's a scene with balloons. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you'll see in one scene when I'm with Professor Ono, in the background, there's some balloons floating up, and you're like, what the heck are those balloons for? Well, actually, they cut the scene, but we did a scene showing how aggressive they were. We had white balloons and black balloons. And basically what I did was I was right on the nest, and I shook the balloons, and they just destroyed all the black balloons. Now, I asked Professor Ono, why they are so aggressive to black? Do you have any ideas?
I don't know.
Well, what he says is because the only natural predator to these hornets for thousands of years is the Asian man. And the Asian man has black hair, black eyes. So we are their only predator, and they hunted them for food, for defense of their villages and so on. The other black animal they have are bears, and I believe a bear, if he's hungry enough, would probably go in there, brave the stings to get to the nutrients. Each one of these hornets, you saw the grub at the beginning,
yes,
has 19 amino acids. Here's another tidbit. At the end, you'll see me drinking some sake, and you'll notice it's milky white. We put basically a pupid. It's the larva. I think it's the pupid. Then it becomes it's the stage when it looks like the hornet.
Right.
It's all white, and they just fall
and
apart.
mixed it in.
That was a super health alcoholic drink.
Okay. There's Easter eggs in this story too.
That's right. So next time you see it, look at it. There's also very rare footage in there that they don't talk about, and you'll notice the hornets on the pathway. like attacking each other. They're actually mating. It's probably the first time giant hornet mating has ever been captured on film. And you'll notice some dead. Now they're dead because in the enthusiasm of the event, sometimes they kill the mating queen or the princess as it leaves. So that was very cool to see. So you can catch that too if you missed it. And there's one more scene, I'm not going to tell you where it is, but you actually see my father-in-law. I'll give you a clue. It's actually when I see my kids, when they're seeing me off. So look really careful and see if you find my father-in-law.
Okay, he's in the picture there.
He's in the picture. He's not supposed to be in the picture, but he's in the shot.
I got to ask you, how did you get your interest up first off in bees and then the hornets? But it starts with bees, right?
It does, because basically I learned the bees were dying, and I grew up in England with bumblebees, and we'd go on school trips looking at the bees on the flowers, and it was just part of growing up in elementary education. And it dawned on me, in all the time that I'd been in Japan, I hadn't seen any bees. So around 2010, I spent an entire year looking for bees. Now, there are flowers. Japanese are prolific in planting flowers, but there were no bees. So I decided, you know what, I better become a beekeeper to help these flowers, which are beeless.
Right.
And after pestering Japanese beekeepers, and they don't want to share their
secrets with you.
or anything. They don't even share the bees. But I pestered him so much that he gave me some bees. Now, the bees I got were sick. So I said, does this guy just give me sick bees? So I went to his farm, and I noticed all his bees were sick. So I delved into more research and found out about something called colony collapse disorder, all this stuff. The bees are collapsing. The fact is, what I discovered, the bees have been collapsing since the introduction of pesticides in the 1950s, and there's some great USDA data that shows their collapse. And then in the 1990s, systemic pesticides came out, neonicotines, you may have heard of them. They're the water-soluble, and the bees have collapsed even more. So after my bees were dying and sick, all of a sudden these hornets finished them off. And I was like, I'd moved the bees from the rice fields where there was pesticides to an organic farm, only for them to be slaughtered. And I was angry, and I'd done some videos, and Animal Planet saw those videos and had the idea of me traveling around and learning to seek revenge on the hornets for killing my bees. So that's
how it all started.
It wasn't planned. It was just me documenting my experiences and then having that opportunity.
The problems with bees don't just exist in Japan. It's a worldwide thing, right?
Right. It is. They're going to try to obfuscate or say it's this or that. It's pesticides. And what people don't realize is less than 0.007% of fresh water is available to life. That's it. Of the 2.5% of the water, 0.007% is accessible. Well, we have contaminated with agrochemicals, with pesticides, and bees need water more than they need pollen, more than they need nectar. They need water for cooling, for feeding, and if the water they're taking over the last 60 years is contaminated, then they're going to get sick. Just like imagine living in, next to 3 Mile Island for 100 years, and each generation being affected by those situations. So we're the ones who are directly responsible. We've got to change our ways.
Okay. Well, we'll be watching for it. Again, the show aired, its premiere showing was last night on the Animal Planet channel, and it will be aired more often. The folks will learn a lot from the show.
I hope so. I hope to do more. So thanks a lot for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming in. And is there a website that people can go to if they want more information about these hornets?
Well, I would love to talk. I'd love to do presentations. So you can reach me at foundlips.com. That's my company. And I want to do educational presentations at schools and other things and talk about the crisis and really bring awareness of the situation of the bees and how we can possibly help save them and bring them back. We can't do that.
They're important to so many things that we enjoy today, for sure. Mike, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And everybody be watching for the next showing of Killer Hornets from Hell on the Animal Planet. And thanks for joining us on this edition of Citrus Today, everybody.